Instead, what they tell me was everybody else has their titles, only you don't have titles. Everybody else having permits, only you don't have permits. And the reason you don't have titles is because you're not following directions. And the reason you don't have permits is because you're not doing what you're supposed to do. So next time, although you paid for 1 year, we're only going to give you 3 months and either bring the titles or leave Rwanda.
Not the Black American. What kind of advice can you give them?
Don't buy in Bugesera. Do not buy in Bugesera until you hear people saying,
hey. How are you?
I'm okay, brother.
Oh, thank you for having me. Your press, it means a lot to me.
I'm glad you came down. Thanks for coming. Yeah, so my name is Andre Long. They call me Brother Long. I'm from America. I come from Akron, Ohio, a little place that where LeBron James, Steph Curry, marbles, baby dolls, Goodyear tires, and myself, we all hail from on high. And I came to Rwanda because I've been dreaming about going to Africa to build a community since 2008. I started traveling the world in 2019, and I was in Eastern Europe in Albania when I saw a presentation by the Sutara in Sintwali about coming to Rwanda to invest and how the country wanted people to come and invest, and there was an opportunity to grow honey and have land. So I saw their little presentation on coming to Rwanda, and I dropped everything, and I was here like the next week.
How long have you been here?
April 2023. So this month will make 3 years.
3 years.
Yes.
So did you say your mission is to build a community?
Well, my dream, I went through a rites of passage, and in the rites of passage, when we started working with children, we would only have the children for 1 hour after school, and we would do a lot of good work, but they would leave us and go back home. And the environment that they lived in at home was not conducive to the success of the programming we were trying to install in them, which meant we needed a place to get them away from home and away from their communities for long enough for them to learn and be transformed. And so I knew that Africa was the place that was supposed to be, where people could get out of America, go to Africa, stay for a few months, learn, get transformed, and then go back home as change agents. That plan began to shift as I got into Qigong and healing, but it's still the same in terms of we need a place to go and heal and be re-educated.
Oh, can you tell us a little bit about Qigong and everything, please?
Yeah, so Qigong is an ancient Chinese secret healing art that the Chinese have kept safe from 3000 BC all the way up until today. And it is a lot of different things. Qigong is an umbrella term to describe all different type of things. The most popular forms of Qigong that people may have heard of is Tai Chi. Some people may have also heard of acupuncture. A lot of people have heard of yin and yang, the yin-yang symbol. So all of these things come to us from the ancient Chinese secret practices of Qigong.
Can you call yourself a doctor or what?
No, you get in trouble in America for calling yourself things that you're not. I can call myself a certified instructor in the Universal Healing Tao. I could call myself a Reiki master, but I prefer to call myself Brother Long.
The reason why I want to bring that up is because we talked about that a little bit earlier off the camera, and I want to let people know who you really are before we can talk about the healing center. You also said you took a courses with of Qigong.
Yeah, I studied with the Grandmaster Mantak Chia. I had to live with him for 8 weeks to accumulate 250 hours of training in order to get my certification. And for 3 of those weeks, we lived in total darkness, like living inside of a cave.
Ooh.
Yeah.
So you came in Rwanda with the vision of healing people and all people from all of Africa and outside the continent.
Yes, because Qigong is not very well known in the world yet, because it's only been able to be learned by the non-Chinese people basically since the 1980s. So Qigong and its power is not very well known throughout the world, and it's almost unknown in Africa. So when I got my certification and got ready to build my first healing center, I had to choose where in the world to go to actually start. And since 2008, I've been believing that I was supposed to go to Africa. So my vision was to come to Rwanda, build the Qigong Healing Center, and let Rwanda serve as the center of what we call a ripple effect. Like when you throw a rock into the water, it hits the water and then it ripples out. So Rwanda was going to be the center where the rock lands, and then people throughout Africa will be able to come to Rwanda, learn Qigong, and then take it back to their countries and their communities so it can spread.
Oh, wow, that's amazing. Oh, you say it's been 3 years out here?
Yes.
Oh, how the experience has been, or how far we've building your community?
Well, unfortunately, I bought my land in the area where the new airport is being built. And because of that, I haven't been able to actually build anything. I've just been sitting on the land, waiting for titles, waiting for building permits. But I'm hopeful that one day I'll be able to get my building permits and build something so that I can start. And I could have already started, because traditionally the way this is done is you go and you work with the hotel, and you partner with the hotel, and then people have to come and they can stay at the hotel. And that's how they do retreats. But it's very, very expensive. It's very, very, very expensive. The teaching is expensive. The hotel is expensive. The food is expensive. So what I wanted to do was cut all those costs to make sure that anybody and everybody could learn. So I bought 3 farms to grow the food. I bought a commercial land to build the center. And then I would have the housing so I could make it affordable, not like the expensive prices at a hotel. I was growing the food so I could make the food affordable, and I'm the teacher so I can make the teaching affordable. So whereas it cost me $15,000 to get my certification, and I can reteach the skills and give people the power to heal themselves and their families for a fraction of that cost.
So let's talk about a little bit about buying land here. When did you buy it?
I bought land in Moreba. And when I got to, I've never been to another province besides Bugesera. When I landed in Kigali, the folks came and got me, and they brought me to Bugesera, to Nyamata. And that's the only place I've been. So I never went to look at land anywhere else. The first land I went to go see was in Bugesera. And I want to be by the water. I want to have land where you can see the water and be by the water. So I was excited about Bugesera, but Bugesera have hippopotamus. They have hippos, right? And hippos are the deadliest animal in the world. And the hippos in Bugesera were coming up and eating the crops of the farmers. And I wanted to actually go in the water, right? But if there's hippos in the water, I'm not going in the water, right? So I needed to find land somewhere else near the water. And I got blessed, I got lucky, and I found land around Lake Chiahoha, or whatever it's called, where the president has one of his houses. One of the president's houses is on that lake. And it's a big lake, it's a beautiful lake, and there are no hippos. And so that's where I bought my land.
You bought your land?
Yes.
Did you start building your community center or healing center?
Well, the first 3 pieces of land I bought were just for agriculture. So when I bought those pieces of land, I started building the agricultural infrastructure to begin growing the food that would feed the people at the healing center. So I bought the land and I built a house for the fish because I was using a technology to grow food that instead of using soil, you can use the wastes of fish. Fish create, they call aquaponics. So I built a house for the fish, and then I built a house for the bees, and then I started building structures to separate the fruit trees and in some of the towers, gardening. I built a storage center, and then I built a irrigation pit. And so those were the things that I had started building. The agronomist came and inspected because I had thousands of bricks. So they thought I was building a house. But I told him I'm only building things for agriculture. And he told me that that was okay, that I could start building things for agriculture. The last property I got was to build the actual healing center, and that I had to get some engineers to design it, and we haven't been able to, actually we just got the news that I won't be able to do it the way that it was designed, so I have to go back to the drawing board, come up with another plan.
If I'm not mistaken, you say you started building, but in the middle of the building, they told you cannot build it, right?
Yes. So the agronomist came and he told me that as long as I was building for agriculture, it was okay. But the leadership changed. They got a new executive and the new, whatever. So when the new executive came, the new notary, I don't know who he was, but one of the new guys, he came and he asked me for my building permits for everything I was building. And I told him I didn't have the building permit. Now at this point, my farm was built and I had started building the wall around the commercial property. And I had started digging the foundation for the building on the commercial. So he came and he asked me for my building permits on the two plots. And I told him I didn't have building permits. And so he told me that since I didn't have building permits, I had to tear everything down and wait to get the permits. And so since he told me that, of course, I lost all the investment that I had made in building those things up. And then since then, I've been waiting to get the permits, and that has yet to manifest.
When did that happen, of building and tearing down?
So I bought the land in June of 2023, and we built for maybe 2 or 3 months. So it was about in August where the leadership changed. And then, so from August 2023, I've been waiting to get the permits.
3 years waiting.
Yeah.
Why is it taking so long? What did they tell you?
Well, the first part was I could not get the building permits until I had the titles in my name, because I bought the land, I had the contract, but the titles were still in the previous owner's name. So when I went to get the title transferred into my name, they said that because of the airport, the government has to develop the master plan for the airport before they start giving people titles again. Because your land might be in an area that has some new special designation because of the airport. So we just had to wait. Everybody that had from like February 2023, everybody that bought land in Bugesera had to wait until the master plan was finished. Then we could get the titles in our name. So it took about 1.5 years before the master plan got finished. So I bought the land in 2023 and I didn't get the titles until 2025. So it took 1.5 years to get the title. Once I got the title, then I hired the engineers, and then they developed the plan, they submitted it. And, they were telling me, okay, change this. So we changed something, we submitted again. They say, change this, we changed something, we submitted again. So we kept changing what they told us to change until there was nothing left to change. And when there was nothing left to change, that's when they told me, we're not doing permits now. Come take your application, and you have to wait until we resume permits. So it was September 2025 when they told me we're not doing permits for that land, and then they told me to come reapply in 3 months. So that was December 2025, and I reapplied December 2025, and on February 28th, I got the message that said, you can't do this unless you build a road that's 12 meters wide.
Which is crazy.
Which is, because I don't even think the main road is 12 meters wide.
So what is the way to go forward?
Well, right now, number one, I have to check on my visa. My visa expired a month ago, and I haven't gotten any word on if my visa is going to be renewed or how it's going to be renewed. So hopefully they renew my visa and I can get, more than a year or at least a year. Assuming that my visa gets approved, the next thing is I have to find another engineer because my engineer that I had hired is no longer communicating. So now I have to find another engineer that can draw up a residential plan instead of a healing center plan. So I can just get something approved on the land and build so I can get up there and actually start, doing something.
Do you have a hope maybe it'll happen?
Well, everybody says it will happen. Yes, I am hopeful that it will happen, but I have lost a lot of confidence. I'm not confident that it's going to happen, but everybody at the district says it's going to happen. All the engineers say it's going to happen, and so we just wait and see. But now it seems like if I do a residential project instead of the healing center, that I'll be able to finally get the building permit. But there's quite a few of us waiting for building permits in that area. So I don't know why other people aren't getting theirs. But I'm sure at some point they'll approve it. At least. I mean, I have no choice but to hope that.
Let's hope it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
There's another thing that you mentioned about your visa.
Right.
You say the visa that has been expired. It was for how long?
It was for 1 year.
1 year.
Yeah. So when I came to Rwanda, I think when you first come, they give you like 2 months. And then within those 2 months, you have to change to different types of visa. Since I left America in 2019, I spent all these years leaving the country and coming back and leaving the country and coming back. And I didn't want to do that. So they have and actually I didn't know about the 10-year visa. They do have like this 10-year visa you can get where you have to leave every 6 months and then you could come back. But I didn't want to do that. I wanted to just be able to stay here. So I wanted to do business here. So what I did was I applied for the business visa. And when you apply for the business visa, they can give you anywhere between 1 and 10 years. They only gave me 1 year. And they said it was because they needed to see me doing something with my project. So they came, they looked at the land. I wasn't doing anything. So they said, okay, we'll give you 1 year to show us you're doing business. After 1 year, I still couldn't have titles in my name. I didn't even have the title in my name after 1 year. So they came back and they're like, oh, it's been a year. You haven't done anything. I'm like, well, I can't do anything, because I can't get the permits. And then it was a process. It's been a bit of a fiasco because at this point I've gotten this will be my 8th visa. And the visa takes a whole page in your passport. So I'm literally, without leaving this country and being here less than 3 years, I've gotten 8 whole pages of my passport taken up, and I've had to get a new passport, you know. And I'm accustomed to, you go in the country, they take 1/4 of your passport. You leave that country, they take 1/4. So you go to a country, you leave it, that's half of a page. But here, I come to the country, I never left, and I've got 8 whole pages of my passport taken up. So, like, nobody knew it was going to take 2 years to get the master plan. Nobody knew it was going to take 2 years to get the titles. Nobody knew it was going to take 3 years to get the permit. You know, so their assumption was probably like, okay, 1 year is enough time for this guy to get his titles and do a project. And then unfortunately it wasn't. And there wasn't, there's not a lot of good communication. So, like, the people in Kigali, they know that there's no building permits, there's no title transfers, there's no master plan, so everybody has to wait. But the people at the district level don't know that, right? So they're not communicating. The upper tier of government is not communicating with the district level. So when I go into the district, they're telling me, instead of them telling me, okay, we understand we're not doing title transfers, we understand we're not doing building permits, we're gonna help you out, we're gonna give you a visa. Instead, what they tell me was, everybody else has their titles, only you don't have titles. Everybody else having permits, only you don't have permits. And the reason you don't have titles is because you're not following directions. And the reason you don't have permits is because you're not doing what you're supposed to do. So next time, although you paid for 1 year, we're only going to give you 3 months and either bring the titles or leave Rwanda. And this is how they treat me. This is how they treat a lot of people. A lot of people have had problems at Bugesera immigration. You know, I don't know if the gentleman that was giving us all problems is still there, but before they got that gentleman out of there, he was causing problems for nobody has a good story with Bugesera immigration. Everybody has a trauma story, right? And so that was mine, you know, telling me, you know, You're
supposed to give the title though.
To get the title, you had to apply at like the one-stop shop center. Like there was this place. There's a place next to the district where you go to get the titles and things, but they just weren't doing it until the government approved the master plan. So you had to wait for the government in Kigali to approve the master plan. Then you had to go to the one-stop shop center to get the title, but everything was paused from 2023 until the end of 2025, beginning of 2026, right? But that part's not the bad part. Okay, I understand there's an airport being built, so there's delays. I understand that. We have to figure out the master plan. I understand that, but the thing that really bothered me is the treatment that I got from the people at the district level, because they didn't know what was going on. And if they're telling me to produce the title and leave Rwanda, normally I would have just left. I'm a world traveler. I've been all over the world. And so there's a lot of places I could go. But I have a baby here in Rwanda, right? So the idea of having to leave my baby here without me was very, very stressful. So I've been through all kinds of emotional stress and anguish because they're telling me produce, and the government in Kigali is telling me just wait. You know?
So the problem is at district level.
Yeah, the problem was it was one guy in the district office who liked to have control. He likes to make Americans feel like he have control over us. So he I won't name names, but there's several of us Americans that got into very, very heated yelling arguments with him down at immigration. Even I did, right? And I'm in there yelling, and he's telling me to calm down. And I told him, no, I'm not calming down. I kept yelling. I was very upset because you're telling me this is my fault, but you're not giving me the things I need. And so it wasn't until I started yelling and I wouldn't stop yelling I thought security was going to come take me out. But then when I started yelling and I got angry, then he said, oh, just write us a letter and explain your problem and it's okay. And so he could have told me that from the beginning. He could have told me from the beginning to write a letter, but he wanted to play with me. He wanted to make me feel like he can control me. And he's the wrong person to have working. You shouldn't have people like that in a job like that.
If you could go back in years, would you do things differently?
Yo,
and how would you do it?
Okay, so if I could go back, number one, I would not have bought land in Bugesera because apparently all of the other districts are fine to do business because they don't have the airport. It's just that because the airport is coming to Bugesera, that's why it's taking all these years to be able to do anything. So the number one thing I would have done was I wouldn't have bought in Bugesera, okay? And the other thing that I wouldn't have done is I wouldn't have done agriculture first, all right? I would have done construction first because to buy land and to build a house is so cheap here. You know, to build a complex, and then you can give people a better place. So, anyways, yeah, I would have started with a construction company instead of an agricultural company, and I would not have bought land in Bugesera because the master plan needed to get finished.
If you can give any advice for some other Black American who are maybe considering to come and buy a place in the Bugesera here specifically, what kind of advice can you give them?
Don't buy in Bugesera. Do not buy in Bugesera until you hear people saying and showing you we've gotten our building permits. Okay, because right now we had a meeting with the mayor with 50 of us that are investing here in Bugesera, and nobody could get permits. Nobody could move forward. Everybody is being stuck. So until you hear people in Bugesera say, I've gotten my building permit and I'm building. Now, you have people who are building in Bugesera because they had their land before the changes, right? They were here before the problem started. The problem is for those of us that came after February 2023, right? And now it's possible that now they're doing building permits because they denied mine. So maybe they could have approved it if I did it right. But what I've learned is when they deny it and you fix it and they deny it and you keep fixing it, eventually they'll just say, hey, we're not doing it yet. So I would not buy in Bugesera until I hear people saying, I bought land this year or last year and I got my building permit, and then I would only buy in those areas, you know, because each area is maybe different. So maybe if I didn't buy in Moreba and I would have bought in Niamata, maybe I could have, you know, gotten it there. So what I would suggest to people is, number one, before you invest to do something you want to do, find somebody else that's doing something similar. If you know you need to build, find somebody that's building. And make sure that they didn't get their land 10 years ago in their building. Make sure they got their land when you're about to get your land, okay? Because if I would have just said, okay, we got 50 Americans here, everybody's trying to build, none of them would have been able to show me their permit. None of them would have been able to show me their building. I would have been like, wait a minute, if nobody can build and nobody can do anything, maybe this is not where I need to be.
Yeah. If you can give a message to local leaders or leaders in a district level, what would you tell them? The message you can give them?
That you need to include reviews. When people come to your country and they have their experience, there should be something for us to write about what we're experiencing so that you can understand. I don't think it's any excuse to have this guy, like I say, I think the guy has been removed now, but you had this guy at the Bugesera immigration for like years harassing us. right? All of us had these problems. All of us were doing yelling. All of us are having these problems. And this guy was just allowed to keep his job and keep harassing us. And so you should have had some type of, and I don't know if you do, but there should have been a way for us to file a complaint. Because who do we complain to about this guy? The only times I knew to complain about him is when it was time for me to apply for my new visa. And when I had to write my letter to the director, that's when I complained. But there should have been a mechanism whereby as soon as I had a complaint about this government individual, I could have filled out the thing and I could have said, hey, look, RDB and Kigali have told me to just wait. The Bugesera district told me that nobody is waiting. I'm just not doing what I'm supposed to do. I'm not following directions. So either I bring them the title or I leave Rwanda. I should have been able to say, wait a minute, okay, Kigali has told me to wait. Bugesera is telling me to do it or leave. And that should have been something that got handled immediately. It shouldn't have been something that's taken all these years and all these complaints before they finally find people who are not power tripping. Okay, like, you know, we're coming here to try to, you know, some of us are coming here to invest, to do business, to be a blessing, to share our skills. And you got people who are control freaks and they just want to control Americans. They don't need to be the people who we have to go to get our business handled.